අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT මොබිටෙල් දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First and 9, this Sunday the 7th of May 2023. Inclement weather. Department of Meteorology forecast the formation of a low pressure zone in the Bay of Bengal into a cyclone. Modern solutions. Health experts warn that 55 MOH areas in 15 districts have been named as hyperepidemic regions. Drones to be used to identify breeding grounds. Reshuffle. Governors of 4 provincial councils expected to be reappointed upon President Ranil Wickremesinghe's return. Quality and quantity. We want to increase the quality of tourism in the country and attract upper-end markets, says Minister of Tourism Harin Fernando.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Alliance Finance මෙතුරු රන්නයි සේවාවෙන් රන් පවුම්කට රුපියල් 1,70,000ක ඉහළ අධිකාරම.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. In your top story for tonight, now the Department of Meteorology warned today that atmospheric disturbances surrounding Sri Lanka could develop into a low pressure zone in the coming days and eventually into a cyclone. The department expects the rainy weather conditions in the country to persist over the next few days. Since last afternoon, the western slopes of the central mountains have been receiving intermittent heavy rains. Due to the heavy rains that the Roya reservoir's 4 sluice gates were open 2 feet each, allowing the release of 5,500 cubic feet of water every second. Meanwhile, over the past 3 days, heavy rains have been experienced in the Galenbindunuvava area in Anuradhapura. Due to this, many small tanks are at overflow levels and many lowlands have been flooded. In the meantime, the heavy rains also resulted in incidents of flooding being reported from several places in Negambo's Pariyampula area. In such a backdrop, the police and the Navy divers have launched an operation to find a person who is said to have gone missing while travelling on a road in that area last afternoon. The missing person has been identified as a 59-year-old Mohammed Salim Mansoor, a father of 4 and a resident of Periyamulla. Meanwhile, 2 children of the same family who went for a swim in the Beliul Oya Canal in the Mathurata Mandaram Nuwara road had drowned after being pulled away by the current. The remains of one child, a 14-year-old girl, has been discovered while operations are underway to find the 13-year-old. Meanwhile, the bodies of 2 school children who went swimming and were reported missing last afternoon at Batticlose Kokuville's Saukade beach were discovered today. The students, aged 16, were schooling at the Vipulananda Vidyalaya. The duo had allegedly gone out under the guise of attending tuition class. In the meantime, the National Building Research Organisation issued its first level of landslide warnings for the divisional secretariats of 5 districts. Accordingly, the warning announcement will be in effect for several areas in the Badulla, Gaul, Kegod, Kurunegala and Matale districts until 9 am tomorrow. In other developments, the Department of Meteorology stated that the disturbance in the atmosphere around Sri Lanka will develop into a low-pressure zone in the next few days. Following this, the low-pressure zone is expected to further evolve into a cyclone. As a result, more rain is expected in many areas across the island. According to the weather forecast issued by the Met Department, heavy rains of more than 75 millimeters may occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, northwestern, northern, eastern and Nuwa provinces and the Gaul, Mathura and Polonnaruwa districts tonight. The Department of Meteorology also predicts that heavy rains of more than 50 millimeters may occur in other areas of the country.
මේ තියෙන වර්ෂාපතනේ ක්‍රමයෙන් වැඩිවීමක් තමයි අපි අපේක්ෂා කරන්නේ. 8, 9, 10, 11 වගේ දිනයන් වලදී මේ තත්ත්වය අපිට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දිවයිනේ නැගෙනහිර වෙරළබර තීරයට ඔබෙන් තියෙන බෙන්ගාල බොක්කාවට ප්‍රදේශයේ ගැඹුරු මුහුදේ අඩුපීඩන කලාපයේ බිහි වුණාම දීවර හා නායකටතු වෙලෙනකොට මේ අවධානය යොමු කරන්න මොකද එම මුහුදු සීමාවේ තුලගේ වේගය වැඩි වෙන අවස්ථා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට අමතරව තද වැසි තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට අමතරව මුහුද රළු වීමේ හැකියාවන් තියෙනවා. ගැඹුරු මුහුදු තීරය ගැන සැලකිලිමත් වෙන්න කියන එක අපි දිවර නාවික ප්‍රජාවකෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
Now, national convener of the Association of Health Entomology Officers stated that the Ministry of Health has declared 56 MOH areas of 15 districts as dengue hyperepidemic regions so far. Given the rising dengue cases in the country, the Western Province Governor Marshal of the Air Force Roshan Gunatilaka stated that steps will be taken to use drone technology to locate mosquito breeding grounds and destroy them. The number of dengue cases reported in the island have increased due to the prevailing weather situation of the country. According to health officials, the number of dengue cases reported so far this year exceeds 31,000. The highest number of cases have been recorded so far from the districts of Gampaha and Colombo, respectively. Accordingly, 55 MOH areas of 15 districts were declared as dengue hyperepidemic regions by the Ministry of Health.
දැනට දිවයිනේ දිස්ත්‍රික්ක 15ක සෞඛ්‍ය වෛද්‍ය නිලධාරී කොට්ටාස 55ක් අදිවසංගත තත්ත්වයක් බවට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශය විසින් එම සෞඛ්‍ය වෛද්‍ය නිලධාරී කොට්ටාස නම් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ජාතික ඩෙන්ගු මර්ධන ඒකකය ප්‍රකාශ කරන දත්ත අනුව ඩෙන්ගු මරණ 15ක් වාර්තා වෙනවා. රෝහලකට දරා ගන්න පුළුවන් රෝගීන් සංඛ්‍යාව 600ක් පමණ වෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාව තුළ. නමුත් බේරුවල රෝගීන් 2000කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් වාර්තා වෙනවා. වාර්තා වුණු රෝගීන්ගෙන් 125%ක්ම වාර්තා වෙන්නේ පාසල් යන වයසේ දරුවන්. එම නිසා පාසල් වල ඩෙන්ගු මදුරුවන් බෝවන ස්ථාන විනාශ කිරීම සහ පෞද්ගලික උපකාරක පන්තිවල ඩෙන්ගු මදුරුවන් බෝවන ස්ථාන විනාශ කිරීමට අපි අනිවාර්යෙන් පියවර ගන්න ඕන. සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශය විසින් මේ වෙනුවට චක්‍රලේඛන නිකුත් කරලා තියෙනවා පාසල් වල විදුහල්පතිවරුන් සඳහා ඩෙන්ගු කමිටු සක්‍රිය කරන්න කියලා. ඒ වගේම ඩෙන්ගු කමිටු සක්‍රිය කරලා විතරක් වැඩක් නැහැ. මේකට අදාළව ඩෙන්ගු මදුරුවන් බෝවන ස්ථාන විනාශ කිරීමට වැඩපිළිවෙලක් සකස් කරන්න ඕන. ඒ වගේම සෞඛ්‍ය කීට විද්‍යා නිලධාරීන් විසින් දිවයින පුරා තමන්ගේ පරීක්ෂණ කරලා දත්ත ලබා දෙනවා ඩෙන්ගු මදුරුවන් බෝවන ස්ථාන පිළිබඳව. එම දත්ත අනුව බස්නාහිර පළාත තුළ නිවෙස් 100ක් පරීක්ෂා කිරීමේදී නිවෙස් 15කට වඩා වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක ඩෙන්ගු මදුරුවන් බෝවන ස්ථාන ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම එම ස්ථාන විනාශ කිරීමට පියවර ගන්න ඕන.
Meanwhile, Western Province Governor Marshal of the Air Force Roshan Gunatilaka stated that drone technology is being used to identify breeding grounds of mosquitoes in order to destroy them.
බස්නාහිර පළාතේ ඩෙන්ගු කාර්යසාධන බලකාය මම සක්‍රිය කෙරුවා. කරලා උපදෙස් රාශියක් මම දුන්නා. අපි හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවා ඩෙන්ගු මදුරුවා බෝයන ස්ථාන කීපයක්. එකක් ඇවිල්ලා පාසල් පරිසරයේ ඊළඟට තව ස්ථානයක් තමයි ගොඩනැගිලි සදන ස්ථානවල. බොහෝ ගොඩනැගිලි වල වතුර රැඳෙනවා. තව ස්ථානයක් තමයි රජයේ වැඩපළවල. මේවා අපි නිරීක්ෂණය කරන ඩ්‍රෝන තාක්ෂණයේ දාලිවරලා ගුවන් හමුදාව විසින් ඒක නිරීක්ෂණය කරලා අපි ක්‍රමවේදයක් හදලා තියෙනවා උඩුගෝණයේ සිටම මේක ඩෙන්ගු මදුරුවා මරලා දමන්න ස්ප්‍රේ කරන්න.
Meanwhile, Health Minister Kelia Ramukwala stated that the decision has been made to dispatch a special unit to the Gampaha district tomorrow to control the dengue outbreak in the region. Now, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has informed the provincial governors of the eastern, northern, Sabaragamu and Nuwa provinces to resign from their posts. President Wickremesinghe will be considering the appointment of new provincial governors upon his return to Sri Lanka from his visit from the United Kingdom. According to internal government sources, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has informed the current governors of 4 provinces of the island to resign. Accordingly, governors of the eastern, northern, Sabaragamu and Nuwa provinces have been informed to resign. Sri Lanka's current provincial governors were appointed by former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Currently, Anuradha Yahampath, Jeevan Tyagaraja, Tikiriko Bekaduwa, AJ Muzammil are the provincial governors of the eastern, northern, Sabaragamu and Nuwa provinces respectively. A country's president holds the power to appoint provincial governors as required by the constitution. Accordingly, President Ranil Wickremesinghe will be considering the appointment of new governors of the relevant provinces after returning to the island from his visit to the United Kingdom. The former IMF resident coordinator of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nadimul Haq, stated that Pakistan and India must put their differences aside if the countries in the Asian region can cooperate and move forward to better integrate and develop the countries in the region. Now, speaking to Indivari Amuwatha during our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, senior lecturer at the Department of Economics at the University of Colombo, Dr. Priyanka Dunusinghe went on to say that unless the government takes action to implement its economic reforms stipulated by the EFF program of the IMF, it will lose the support it has garnered thus far from the general public.
How do we look at greater integration among our countries when there are other blocs that have actually overcome their own challenges by working together?
We live in a bad neighborhood. That's a fact. India and Pakistan need to settle their differences and need to work together and need to put the past behind them. But India and Pakistan somehow cannot do it. So it'll take maybe 2 or 3 generations before we can do it. And the same thing for Sri Lanka in a much smaller way, because you also cannot seem to get rid of your ethnic tensions. Ethnic tensions exist everywhere. Other countries have solved their problems. We can't. But those tensions also translate into economics. So India and Pakistan don't trade. Because India and Pakistan don't trade, SARC can't take off. So yeah, it's a huge, huge issue and we can't solve it. Of course, it has a problem, but all the more reason why we need to reimagine ourselves. We really need to, and this is where leadership comes in. The government has to talk to the people, not just give handouts. Giving handouts is a colonial method. We have to get out of that. All leaders talk to the people and explain to them what can be done. We have to tell the people that these outmoded measures of free education, free, cheap quality education that gets you nowhere is useless. Free, cheap quality health goes nowhere. Free, cheap subsidies to businesses, enterprises creates nothing. So we have to get out of this business. We have to reimagine the government. The government is not the people's, as the colonials used to say, mother, father.
About our economic reforms agenda, whether there should be significant support coming in from the people or the government should relook at these reforms.
What we have seen, I mean, compared to past few months, we can see that broadly people, the general public, then the trade union and other political parties, broadly they have started supporting, in particular the IMF program. The policy reforms that should be carried out under the programs are supported broadly by those different stakeholders. But I mean, it is quite, we cannot really predict how long such supports will be available, in particular when it comes to key areas, key reforms such as state-owned enterprises and also some of the areas like debt restructuring, in particular the domestic debt restructuring, and also with respect to liberalization of trade services and entering into some trading agreement with other countries, and also when reforming existing labor laws. So it is not clear to what extent such supports will long last. But certainly support is required. That is what the central bank government also emphasized this year, saying that failure to provide such support for an economic reform would end up with perpetual bailout, get into a perpetual bailout situation or endless external borrowing. So those are some of the outcomes of our failure to carry out necessary economic reforms. Right now, to some extent, we could see, even though we say open private sector led economy in Sri Lanka, we can, to some extent, we can say economy run by a number of mafias are right now operating in Sri Lanka. You could see that egg producers association, you can see various associations consisting small producers. They are the associations set the price. Nowhere in the world this happened. It is a monopoly. I think we should reform the economy in order to make it more competitive.
Now, the Ceylon Electricity Board has given Minister Kanchana Wijesekara the copy of its plan for renewable energy integration from 2027 to 2050. Minister Wijesekara received the relevant plan last week at the premises of the Ministry of Power and Energy. Today in a tweet, the minister stated that 211 megawatts of renewable energy has been added to the energy mix in the year 2022, of which 146 megawatts is rooftop solar. The minister further mentioned that it is anticipated that between 2027 and 2030, 3,075 megawatts of renewable energy and 1,525 megawatts of storage will be added to the system. Now stay with us to get more information about the government's plan to boost tourism in the country and the expected tourist arrivals by this year. All this and much more coming up right after this short commercial break.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන් කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ඩීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි. ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ඩීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. Now, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board notified of an imposition of a 10-hour water cut from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. in several areas tomorrow. Accordingly, the Kolonnawa Urban Council areas, Moragasmulla, Rajgila, Obesekarpura, Bandaranayakapura, Athulkote and Naval areas and the main road that connects these roads will be affected by the water cut, according to the National Water Supply and Drainage Board. The water supply will be interrupted for a period of 10 hours from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow. It is further stated that the water cut is a result of the Lanka Electricity Company Limited suspending the power supply to the Kolonnawa pumping station due to essential maintenance work. The Minister of Tourism, Harin Fernando, stated that officials are planning to attract 1.5 million to 2 million tourists by this year and attract up to 3 million tourists in 2024. The minister went on to say that plans are in the pipeline to raise the number of daily flights to 5 at 3 at present with the Emirates Airlines. He stated that the government is planning to increase more activities for tourists while also improving the quality of tourism in the country in order to ensure that tourists would spend an average of $400 during their stay.
In terms of demographics, are you looking to attract any particular kind of demographic to your country?
Yeah, so Sri Lanka is a product which has something for everyone. It's not just a product that is only revolving around the beach or the mountains or the history, culture. It has everything, I would say. We want the youngsters to come and adventure. There you get that. The wellness is another major attraction. There is a nice, safe place where you have wildlife, there is entertainment. Colombo is a different city all in all. So I think driving from one place to another, you can reach from a 13 degrees Celsius to a 30 degrees Celsius within 2 hours.
Any specific plans regarding the Gulf and tourist house?
What the government of Sri Lanka is doing is facilitating. My job is not to do business, but to make sure the private sector be brought into the industry and the industry to meet the other stakeholders. Caribbean market is travelers around the clocks. It's about creating the air seat capacity, which is crucial. So we're looking forward to see the 5th daily flight from Emirates to fly into Sri Lanka. Right now we have 3 to 4. We want to see that it increases to 5. We are quite hopeful UAE, the Middle East market, will find Sri Lanka very attractive because we have lots of meditation, yoga, and we have wellness programs. We have the colder weather, which is amazing, the mountains, and we have a new thing called a Pico Trail, which is one of the newest additions where it's a 23-day trail, but people can break it into stages. So we have got some new ideas and things are working.
Do you have any figure in mind, like what kind of number of tourists are you targeting by the end?
So for this year, we're looking at about 1.7 to 2 million tourists to visit Sri Lanka. And also 2024, our target is about 2.5 to 3 million. But the quality of tourists is what we are very concerned about. And right now, per day, often tourists is about averaging to $250, but we like to see it improving to $400. So we are improving that. We have lots of boutique villas owned by foreigners in Sri Lanka, which is in great quality. And we want to make sure that Sri Lanka positions themselves for the upmarket tourists as well. So the revenue wise, we're looking at about $3 billion for this year. But by next year we want to go up to about $5 billion and get the quality improved as well.
Now, China's foreign exchange reserves rose more than expected in April as the dollar fell against other major currencies. The country's foreign exchange reserve more than from $2.1 billion to $3,206 trillion last month. The yuan fell by 0.68% against the dollar in April, while the dollar last month fell by 0.94% against the basket of other major currencies. Now, China also held 0.76 million troy ounces of gold at the end of April, rising from 66.5 million ounces at the end of March. The value of China's gold reserves rose to $132.35 billion at the end of April from $131.65 billion at the end of March. And that's all the news we have for you this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Until then, tune into our social media pages for the very latest updates. Have a pleasant evening and good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.